Hi, guys. How are you all this day? So I have the singular pleasure of just setting up the panel, and it's just like a 10-minute thing. Then we get into the panel discussion. So the topic that we have for today is moving from being curious to confident in AI. So my name is Fred. I lead the health tech team at Qhala, and I'm presenting on behalf of our CEO, Dr. Shiko. So now, let's start with this. Who can recognize the figure on the right? Hands up. This is a test of trying to see who is in the room. Yeah, I can see some people at the very back. Yeah, Eunice, yeah. That is something, a relic of the academic field called a logbook. Yeah. And just a story is that I was we're in the first class that used calculators in our KCSE exams, meaning in our ordinary levels, O levels. And I know right now you might be thinking, hey, guy, how old is this guy? Yeah, that was like I think 18 years ago. And for the first, like in Form 1 and Form 2, we are using things called logbooks. When you think about a logbook, how it works is you go to it, it has a bit of numbers and things, then you look at it and it gives you the sign of 45 degrees, which is 0.85. Don't ask me how I know it. But a lot of it was repetition and memorization, and calculators were illegal. So come Form 3, and suddenly there's a change in curriculum. Suddenly what was illegal now becomes legal. So suddenly we can use calculators. Hooray, yeah? Yes, that's a good thing, yeah? However, there are these purists, like our math teacher who was like, no, you need to struggle. You need to sweat. If you don't sweat during a math exam, you've not learned anything. And this is the whole argument about AI, yeah? There are some proponents who say, oh, no, AI is going to make you lazy. You need to struggle. You need to go to the library and file through so many documents and get the information, because that's how people learn. Yet there are some proponents who, like Leibniz, who was the father of calculus, like in the 1600s. Already he was like, we need calculators. Humans are prone to error. A lot of time is spent on mundane things. And yet we can elevate mathematics as a subject to be reasoning, not just memorization or trying to calculate things like 331 times 159. Right now, if you are to do it, you just pull out your calculator and do it. So it's the same thing with AI right now. And especially when you're talking about Aga Khan University, you are an academic institution. So definitely that's one of the arguments that comes in. So this is a graph that I know all of you have looked at and seen at a certain point in time. Right now, we are going to a hype of AI. Everyone is developing their own AI solution. I have an AI app that wakes me up at 6 a.m. and tells me how good of a person I am. And the hype, let me tell you, the hype is there. And with any hype, it'll come a time that there'll be a bubble and it'll burst. However, I think you need to be cognizant of the cycles. Because once you know that you're in a technology trigger where everything works, now you become cognizant of the fact that as an early adopter, you need to be wary of the chasm. You see that red gap there, where there'll be tools in AI which will overpromise and underdeliver. So what will be your reaction to it? Will you abandon the whole AI thing, or will you say, okay, let's try to see what will work? But the people who get over the early adoption bump and get into the early majority, that's the point when AI starts paying. Now, in your CV, instead of saying proficient in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, now you say proficient in GPT, Llama, etc. And you are about to get to that point. So, AI curious, how do we get to that point? I always say, try to use AI to learn AI. And when you look at AI as a topic, it's not new, it's 70 years old. So just know that already we are late to the party. This thing in 1956, people are already talking about it. They gave it a name, AI, in 1956. Machine learning came in the 1970s, basically statistics on steroids. Then we had deep learning. And with deep learning, it's basically having the brain mimicking trying to mimic what the brain does. And this really came out in about 2012, where it was AlexNet, which was one of the frontier deep learning models. And the only task that it needed to do was to differentiate between cats and dogs, and it was so amazing in 2012. And imagine how far we've come in like a dozen or so years. However, now I would say the intersect of all that is what is generative AI, and I'll urge you to use those tools from OpenAI, DeepSeek, Claude, Gemini to try and learn about AI. I'll not go into the definitions because I know all you need to do is to go. Even your browser right now has AI integrated into it. Yeah. So it's just about trying to figure out how to use it. So what I'll say, especially for us, yeah, is that we use AI for entertainment, social media, but how can we use it now for productivity? And I'll give you a story. So there was a time I was out of the country, so I missed a class. Then on the day of the exam is when I noticed I had a whole lecture which I hadn't revised. I really didn't know it existed because I didn't know there was a class. So I looked at the slides, there were over 100 slides. And that was at 7 a.m. The exam was at 9. So I was like, okay, let's see what to do. Uploaded all the slides on ChatGPT, and I put it in voice mode. So I said, okay, while I'm in the Uber, I told ChatGPT, I didn't just say, give me all the answers right now that will come in the exam. No. I said, okay, I have a paper in the next 1 hour. I want you to tell me the 5 key concepts from this lecture that I missed. Then it spoke and told me the 5 key concepts. Then I said, okay, now I want you to quiz me. Give me multiple choice questions, 10 of them. Don't give me the answer immediately. Wait for me to tell you the answer, correct me, and prompt me when I'm on the right track, interrupt me when I'm on the wrong track. Did 10 MCQs, told it, okay, short answer questions. I want you to give me 10 short answer questions. Don't give me all of them at the same time. Give me one by one. Don't give me the answer immediately. Wait. I'll tell you the answer that I think as it is. Then tell me the answer and tell me which slide it is in so I can read more about it. And in 1 hour, I'd revise for the exam. So even as we talk about these tools, I'll urge you just go and look at them. A lot of them are open, so are free. Notebook LM, Copilot, Perplexity. It will be a matter of time that the problem will be there are too many. Yeah. However, I will caution you: don't cheat yourself. Yeah. That sometimes AI can be a crutch, and there's always that thing of that the brain is a muscle. Yeah, so sometimes to learn you need to exercise this muscle. Like the only way you move things from short-term memory to long-term memory is to have a bit of struggle. This, in the same way that you build normal muscles, like you have to exert yourself to the point of exhaustion, and suddenly you develop new muscles in the same way that now you develop new neural connections that translate into deep memory. So I do music. I've been playing music for the past 20 years. So I went to the Beethoven Museum. So the funny thing about this guy is the last decade or so of his life, he was deaf. Yeah. And he composed the best music of his life when he had no idea what he was composing. However, he could hear the music in his mind. And now the question I would always say is that before, even as you use these AI tools, you need to have gotten to a level of mastery that even when there's no internet and GPT is down and Claude is down, yes, you wrote an amazing essay on media and health, or an amazing essay on the Krebs cycle, yeah? But when all these tools are done, can you still do the same? And I think that will be the true test of saying, is AI an enabler or is it a crutch? And I would say, as with Beethoven, get to a point of mastery to the point that even when everything is silent, when AI like is offline or is not giving you the right answers, can you still do what you need to do? So get to that point of mastery. So even as we talk about being AI confident, I'll finish by highlighting some of what we're doing at Qhala. Amazing people are doing work, and a shout out to Shiko, CEO. Yeah, hi, awesome. So she leads an awesome group of guys, and this is some of the work that is going on. So here is a QR code. You can always scan it and interact with it. So I was a doctor for like 10 years. before I started my study leave. And every month or so, I used to go to court. No, don't go there. I'm not a criminal. We used to go to testify, like somebody has been hurt, there's an assault. So you go to testify. And before the court starts, there was always this thing of you sit down and listen to other cases, and you're like, oh, interesting. Mother selling changa, interesting. So the funny thing is, almost 99% of the times that I was there, the person who was being prosecuted, like the person who did the alleged crime, didn't have any representation. So I remember this woman it was her third time being caught selling changa, and she was like, had 100 liters of changa, which was brought to the court. She was sentenced for 5 years, and she could not believe it. Like literally, it was being translated to her in real time. Then suddenly the other case was called, and she was like, even she didn't know how, like even the process. So she was so dumbfounded, and that's where the solution comes in. How do we empower legal access to those who are vulnerable and underserved in the community? So this is Haki.ai, which does exactly that, and it grounds it to East African community law. So awesome solution right here from the awesome people at Qhala. This is another awesome solution that is AI for child health, development, and safety. This is Atunzi. Atunzi is a Chiwewa word that means to care. My wife is a pediatrician, and surprisingly we are two doctors in the house, but when our son got a fever, like all the medical knowledge just flew off our heads. And thinking, okay, let's call our classmates, and even you'd ask, okay, what do I do in this case? And here is where Atunzi comes in. That sometimes, even for the most skilled parent, sometimes you need a help. And Google doesn't cut it in terms of solutions. You need customized contextual solutions. So Atunzi is trying to do that in terms of nutrition, development, and child safety. So these are some of the amazing tools that can be built once you go from AI curious to AI confidence. And I'm glad now to usher the panel, which I know we'll discuss more about that. Thank you.